You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is Tom Vanderford in his weekly segment. As always, it moves around a little bit during the offseason, and that is because tonight I am at the Under Armour game. So we needed to move this show to be the night show instead of the live show because I'm actually out talking like Keon Young and Cortez Thomas and players like that. Tom, did you have a big Christmas, man?
Oh, yeah, it was wonderful. Years ago when I was very young, we would always go to the grandparents' house for Christmas. Well, now I am the grandparent, my wife and I, so everybody was over here at our house, and we had a really good time.
That is outstanding. Did you make off like a bandit this year?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good. I got this shirt. I got this hat. I'm wearing this to make my mother happy and all of that as well. So she got all that stuff down to me. So that is awesome. You know, the Gator Bowl is just about 4 days away from today. Is the last college football game of the 2024 season that had all of the pomp and circumstance go in there. Ole Miss lost 3 games by 13 points, one on a missed last-second kick, one in overtime. And I think the Florida game, they just lost by a touchdown. But the last 3 possessions, it was like interception, 3 and out or something like that. But this season is coming to an end. And it was a failure because playoffs or bust means you either make the playoffs or it's a bust. So the season was a bust. But Ole Miss is in the Gator Bowl, which is synonymous to the 1970 team. That was the last time that Ole Miss had this much pomp and circumstance on a team. Archie broke his arm. Ole Miss ended up going to the Gator Bowl to play Auburn after that season. You know, with Ole Miss getting ready for this game, by now they're probably down in Jacksonville. You know, what are the things that you want to see in this game from the OGs on the team like Jackson Dart and from the new players?
I just want to see us totally dominate Duke. I think we're capable. I think we're the better team. I think Duke's going to have an issue at quarterback, obviously. And I want to see them play football. I want to see them play hard. I want to see them play fast. I want to see them hit. And then that's the OGs. And then, hopefully we get to see some of the younger folks play as well. Because we have a lot of talent on this team. I know me especially, I'm watching the portal every second and reading about all the high school kids we signed. And that's all good and well, but we have a good amount of high quality athletes on this team already.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I have in this game. For instance, how much does Aiden Williams play football on Saturday or on Thursday? I mean, that is a huge question. You have to determine of whether or not Aiden Williams is in your future plan whenever you're thinking of Caden Lee and Deshaun Stribling and the other players that are lining up on the field, Caleb Cunningham, and this young group of wide receivers coming in. You have to determine where Aiden Williams sits in your pecking order. So he probably needs to play. Logan Diggs, he's not 100% back, and ACL is really an 18-month injury. But you can play after 9 or 10 months, so the explosion is not going to be there. So let's see what Logan Diggs looks like after 1 year from the injury. And I want to see Austin Simmons play. We got one drive of a wonderful proof of concept. I want to see what it looks like after the fact there. And, of course, Ulysses Bentley the fourth. I want to see him play because I don't know if anybody has cackle laughed as hard as I did when Ulysses Bentley broke that 89-yard touchdown against Mississippi State after what he went through this season.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Bentley. I don't think we'll ever know the real story, but I don't think we're being told the whole story. And I do think that if we would have played him more, maybe things would have been different as far as our final record. I don't know if it was something personal with Kevin Smith and him or what, but something happened. I know everybody's says it hasn't, but yeah, we're not that stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of the situation to where you don't run out a fifth string wide receiver to play running back over a healthy Ulysses Bentley unless something's going on. And the excuses and reasons that you gave in that, they can be one thing, but nobody's buying that. No, literally nobody in the fan base is buying that.
No, not at all.
So we'll see what happens. I do want to see Bentley against Duke. Duke is going to be interesting. One of the questions that I have in this game, when Austin Simmons gets in the game, and I do think Jackson Dart, he needs to get his 180 yards and get out of the ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way. Get the single season record and get out of the ball game. Put in Austin Simmons, move in the right tackles, because Duke is an explosive defense. They are second in the country in tackles for loss, and they're a high sack rate team, which means they can get after the quarterback. You have to find out if Diego Pounds or Jaden Williams can play right tackle. Yep. And that can guard Austin Simmons blindside. This is the perfect opportunity to do that whenever that happens. I do want to see that happen as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Stephen. I want to see that as well. I think we're better off on the offensive line than some people think. I know some people were upset that Pettis entered the portal. I was not one of them.
There's no way in the world that Micah Pettis was going to guard Austin Simmons blindside next year.
No,
none,
not at all. So, it was a good for everybody involved that he move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I talked with Brian Smith, who is both the Locked On recruiting guru, and he's also the host of Locked On Florida State or Locked On Seminoles. So I talked to him and had a nice little thing that aired, I think, Thursday night that started with about Michael Pettis, where we're asking a bunch of questions about that. So we talked about that. And then we also got into recruiting a little bit and just kind of had a holiday type crossover, just to add a little bit of content for everybody. In this game also, one thing that would be excited, because you have to assume that everybody's going to be on a little bit of a pitch count.
Right.
Walter Nolan's probably not playing more than 20 snaps in the game. Princely Amonmiel is not probably playing more than 20 snaps in the game. So this is a game that is for the new dogs, the Cam Franklins, the Suntaran Perkins, the Jam Browns, those guys, Xavion Harris. They have a chance to really make their mark in this game, and I am looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
The William Eccles. I want to
yes.
see. I really do. I want to see these young kids. I'm one that still thinks we need an inside defensive lineman, but I'm probably the only one that thinks that.
No, you're not the only one. The problem is in the transfer portal, that player doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it just doesn't, because once Jaheim Otis, his number was so high.
Yeah.
And his number was much higher than what Ole Miss paid Walter Nolan last year. And he is not Walter Nolan.
No.
And so if that player comes in that you're going to have to break the bank for, fine. But that player hasn't entered the portal at this point. So at this point, it is the Mississippi high school kids that are going to kind of tell the tale on defense.
Yeah, I agree. And there's, we've got some good young talent. And, they were able to practice and learn this year behind some of the best in the business. And I think it'll be okay. I think our defense will be stout. I love what we've done at linebacker. I think we've shored linebacker up. I'll be honest with you. I watched the film on Jones from Grambling.
Mm-hmm.
Does he not look like Patrick Willis to you, or what?
Well, playing FCS football, but he looked a lot like Chris Paul to me, honestly.
Oh yeah,
I saw a lot of Paul in his game, and the difference is going to be as if it translates from FCS and the SWAC to the Southeastern Conference.
That is true.
That's one of the reasons I'm glad that Jaden Yates got signed as well. He's another person. Just the odds of one of those two players hitting to where they can go beside TJ Daughtery and work out for that is a good situation to be in. Yes, and again, the back end of the defense, with Lewis Moore going in the transfer portal, I think Zach Berry said that was kind of a cap restructuring type deal.
Right.
But Trey Washington and John Saunders, really good players. Ole Miss is going to have to replace their safeties. And the reason I bring that up, at the Under Armour game where I am right now, talking to Keon Young from the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. I think he is the future of free safety at Ole Miss. This is an unbelievably athletic guy and has a chance where the sky is the limit on that young man's ceiling.
Yeah, and he's big enough to be a free safety, but also I read somewhere where he like locked down the 5-star wide receiver recruit.
Yeah, two catches for 6 yards.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, I mean, come on, dude. Yeah, I'll take that every day.
Yeah, that was Dallas Wilson who he locked down at Tampa Bay Tech. Yeah, he is a good player, and he played literally all over the defense for the Lakeland Dreadnoughts, which is one of the best programs in the entire state of Florida. But he was the guy that the whole defense was kind of built around, and he was like, hey, this is their best player. Go shut him down. Yeah, and he did pretty consistently. So
that's wonderful. I mean, we're doing it right. I don't know if everybody's noticed, but we've kind of, we've went from like 28th in high school recruiting down to like 15th. Yeah, and we've kind of stayed in the top 3 in the portal. So it's a little bit different this year than it has been in the past. We got some really good high school kids this year.
Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. When we come back, we will go into the portal and talk about that just a little bit. Tom Vanderford is joining us for his weekly segment, so stick around. More to come. There's nothing like the energy of being at a live game, the roar of the crowd, the sound of sneakers squeaking on the court, and of course, even spotting a few celebrities in the stands. I remember going to an NBA game a few years back. I think it was the Mavericks and the Timberwolves, and the electricity in the arena was absolutely unforgettable. You can't replicate that watching from your couch. This year, I'm looking forward to catching a few more games live over at the Arena, and Game Time makes it easier than ever with the new Game Time Picks feature. Whether it's basketball, concerts, or theater, Game Time helps you find the best deals on great seats without the hassle of endless scrolling. I just hopped on the app and checked out tickets for an upcoming game, and the Game Time Picks feature made it a breeze to find a super deal on amazing seats. Plus, the app showed me a panoramic view of seats so I could pick the perfect spot. No guesswork, no surprises. And it's not just sports. Game Time has incredible deals for concerts and comedy shows. I'm planning to grab tickets to a concert next month. And with all-in prices, I see exactly what I'm paying up front. No hidden fees at checkout. What I love the most is Game Time is their lowest picks guarantee. If you find a better deal, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with event cancellation protection, your tickets are covered if plans change. It is the most flexible ticketing app I've ever used. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that code is LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Hey, and did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That has definitely happened to me. All these subscription services, they just want you to forget you have it. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow that savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions or spending habits, even the goals that you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is Subscription Tracker. I've used it to cancel services I was not using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, you'll be able to automatically set aside money for your future. No more stressing about budgeting every single month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, Tom, let's talk about the portal. Ole Miss, I think, is at 17 players that they've brought in through the portal. I figure Ole Miss has about 10 to 12 left to go, and you'll see a kind of a slow, almost a trickle of players over the next 5 weeks, maybe 1 or 2 a week or something like that. And Ole Miss needed to replace a bunch. They are replacing a bunch. If you look at the on-3 transfer rankings, Ole Miss is second right now behind Texas Tech as far as improving their roster the most. And their overall ranking, which puts together both the transfer portal and high school recruiting, 13th. Last year, Ole Miss was 17th, as good as that transfer portal class was. Tom, I think Lane Kiffin is literally doing his best work in the transfer portal this year.
Oh, I think so also. And, you know, I get a little nervous about, you know, filling another quarterback slot or, you know, doing what we need to do in the defensive backfield. But, you know, we're in good hands. The man knows what he's doing. Yeah, this isn't his first rodeo. Once again, I mean, you guys hear this every year, but I think we benefit from him having NFL experience. You know, he treats the high school signings like the draft, and he treats the portal like free agency. And like you said, he had to do some restructuring. I mean, he had to take a look. And, you know, I think, this is my own opinion, but I think Kennedy and Moore, they just they were going to get restructured deals, and they figured they'd tap their foot in the water and see what they could get in the portal.
Yeah, something like that. And Chris Graves, you're not hearing much about it, Chris Graves, but towards the end of the season, he actually played quite a bit at that field corner. So he's somebody that's going to take a step probably. Then you look at Jalen Braxton, the transfer that's coming in from Arkansas. He was a freshman All-American that was just injured his sophomore year. So if he is good to go, if that explosion and twitchiness is there, and who knows who else gets brought in through the portal through Pete Golding, because year in and year out, he seems to bring in a ton of safeties. He has in the high school recruiting. I assume that a lot of them aren't going to be on the field immediately, but I mean, you never can tell. I mean, Cortez Thomas or Keon Young, they're good enough to be on the field as true freshmen.
Yeah. Yes, they are. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to try and diagnose what they're thinking or what they're doing.
Oh, come on. That's fun.
Now, well, yeah, but I mean, they make a lot of money to make the right decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it should be interesting. The positions that Ole Miss are probably going to be, the waters they're going to be fishing in over the next month, they're looking for a backup quarterback. That is going to be a hard job finding a backup quarterback for this team. Yeah. Whenever you walk in, because Austin's the dude. Yeah. Austin's the dude. You're almost probably going to have to find an FCS quarterback that just wants the NIL money.
Yeah.
Is probably the route for the emergency break glass type quarterback. Running back is a different problem altogether. And nobody's going to talk about that. But you can count on the fact that everybody is recruiting against Ole Miss negatively over what happened with Bentley this year and the running back situation at Ole Miss. They're using that. And it's going to, like, any discount, any benefit of the doubt that Ole Miss had at the running back position a year ago, they probably don't have that at the moment.
That's correct. And, you know, the consequences of your actions can come back to haunt you. Mm-hmm. Once again, I have no idea why they didn't play him as much as they did. But if I'm a running back and if I'm the kid from South Alabama and I'm looking at Ole Miss and Mississippi State, I'm
asking the question.
Yeah, that could have pushed him, you know, in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ole Miss is going to find their running back, and it's situation. If Logan Diggs goes out and he comes back, he's as twitchy as ever. You know, Shakai Mills-Knight, who has a chance to be just elite at the running back position, and they love Kewan Lacey. So we're not talking about a dearth of talent at the moment, but Ole Miss would like to have somebody above Dominic Thomas, essentially, on the depth chart. Maybe it's the JUCO kids that we've been hearing about. Maybe they get signed in the late signing day or something like that. But, I mean, that's kind of what's going on right now, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've got a certain amount of money they want to play with, and they're trying to figure out how to get the best use out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's probably likely going to happen this year, in my opinion, is the tackle. You're not going to get one of the elite tackles, both defensive tackle and offensive tackle. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get a quarterback at the level that some people want it to be. I can't understand our fan base from time to time wanting a Spencer Sanders type quarterback to come in for Austin Simmons. That wasn't necessary to play those type games. And they're being more efficient this year with their money, because last year they might not have been very efficient. If you look at all the players they took in the running back room and then they just didn't use them.
Right.
So maybe they're being efficient and seeing what's going on. Anyway, thank you very much for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tom Vanderford joins us every week like he always does. Tom, I hope you have a very happy new year, and we'll talk to you after the Gator Bowl, buddy.
Yes, sir. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.